Okay, so in this video I want to talk about in For Honor and what obviously what I really want to see in the future of For Honor after we have seen this newest new Wulin hero, the pirate. And what I think they should do to like the final touch to the Wulin faction is make Wulin a official faction in the faction war in For Honor. For example, now you can, when you choose a faction, you can choose the Samurai faction, the Viking faction, and the Knight faction. Where you cannot choose the Wulin faction in the faction war. So in some sense, you can say that we only have three official factions, but we don't have a fourth faction for the Wulin. So even if you are a Wulin, you're still under the Japanese or Viking or Knight faction. So that is something I really want to see, a official Wulin faction. And I think that is something gonna give so much more depth to that faction if we have an official. And obviously with characters and new characters is always the most important thing with a new character is that people are interested in the character. That's one thing. The other thing is that the character really gives a more longer term of interest than just 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. I think if each character give more adapt to them and they give more like history background and their the gameplay are interesting and they are different from the other. They have a different move set and you don't recognize the move set right away. You see it's a move set that is not similar to the other characters in For Honor. And I think this thing can really gives it more adapt to it if you do all of this. And obviously it's gonna take much more time and more research and more money, obviously, because you're gonna have to start something from 0 to 100 to make it a different. And I think when obviously with for example also if you make a new game mode in For Honor or you try to bring back to life an old game mode, one thing I think people can do is that they give something specifically reward in that game mode that you can only get in that game mode. You cannot get it anywhere else, and that is limited on that game mode. Like you cannot buy it, you cannot get it on any other game mode. This will revive game modes. But if you have a very like you have it everywhere and you have it even on obviously everybody gonna go on that most popular where most players are because it's online game. And so online games are very it's complicated in that sense that people for example if you think a long time ago with games and we think for a second before we have the DLC, before you have pay to win, before all of it, like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, it was much more that you have to do something specific, missions, specific things to get specific rewards. And nowadays, because you can just buy for this reward, or you're gonna get it in much easier way, it's gonna take away from the meaning of reward. Reward is something you get because you have done something to get it. But if you can just buy the reward, nobody gonna really focusing anymore because they just know I just have to wait to get my money and then I buy it and then I have it. And I mean this is for example a good example is Mortal Kombat MK9 when you get the Selena outfit after you finish the towers. And this was something very special before they come with the complete edition when you get everything in one box in one CD. And I think these kind of things are very damaging in some sense, um, for game community. Obviously, the more casual players that play video games, obviously, and they obviously, if companies want to get lots of money, obviously there's a reason why they also put out DLC, new characters, and all this kind of thing that is in the DLC box of new things. But I think when you have, for example, a DLC and you have a DLC faction that Wulin are, that are not really a faction. They are just have the name Wulin, but they are not. They only have a little the stample over them when you choose the character, but they are not any faction, because um, you cannot use them as an official warring faction in that sense of the other free faction in For Honor. And this I have said so many times in other videos, like many years ago, that I really want to see an official like Wulin faction that is similar, that you can choose a Wulin faction in the chain when you change different faction. And just that, I think that is just that. It's not have to be anything special more than that. I think that is something they should do, and they just when we just give us maybe two, this one or two after that, two like two more, so we have three new Wulin, and then you do the official Wulin faction, and you give us some kind of like more, some more maps beside one. We have one Wulin map, but you give us more, and also give us like Wulin minion, because even like that is what I mean. You play a Wulin character, but you still are playing under the other three factions, and the minions you're working with or against are still the Japanese minions, Viking minions, or Knight minions. So it's just the only thing that is Wulin is the character you are. Rest of the things, almost all of the things else, is not Wulin. So I think they should give more adapt to the Wulin faction in the whole than just the characters. More like the minions, some maps, the um, official faction, and all of this kind of thing. Because this is, I think for me personally, I think this is very important to give a adapt to a character. And I think this other thing is also, it's always fun with new characters, but with more characters you have to fix more things. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but especially for me, I always prefer more character. But in some sense, you have to make the game more stable first before you release more character, and give more, I think, more focusing on the game mode and different modes in the game to make people stay to play the game, and also bring in new life to the game, new players. And this is important because the game modes are the most important things. If the game modes are not interesting, people not gonna play. Even if you have super cool character, super interesting move to that characters you play, if the game modes are boring and repetitive, people gonna lose interest. The more you're focusing on the game modes, more people are interesting. And specifically if you are in a online game that you have to have player play daily to make it go around. This is a super important thing. If only people play Breach or Deathmatch or the similar to Deathmatch or nothing else, and you have all the other four modes, and nobody played this, only play two modes in this game. That means the whole of the focus on from the start of the game with all the different modes, and nobody are interesting in the other modes. That is a very are a very important thing to think about. I think with this, it's really important that you have to make every mode in a game interesting. Or if you don't can do it, just make 2 modes in a game. Don't make many different modes. If just people just gonna anyways just gonna focusing on these 2 modes, and just ignore the other 3 modes or 4 modes in the game. And also it's also about everything with points, like leveling the point. You give something from it, and all of this kind of thing. And I think if you, as I said before, if you give reward and unique reward that you cannot get anywhere else in the game, people will want to play more that mode. Because they're gonna get specifically an exclusive reward that you only can get in that mode, and only in that mode, and you cannot get it anywhere else in the game. And I think if you just keep that specifically that reward exclusive, and you don't later on take the same reward in the box, where you just keep it exclusive, I think this is gonna bring more interest to a game. But problem is they never do that. In no other game, they always, maybe 1 year later, you're gonna have this reward that was really hard to get in a very easy box to find in just use real money, and you get the same reward. And when you have this system, when you get the same helmet in that yet a very complicated mission, and you have this, and you get the helmet in a like very easy to just buy it with real money. That means that this point with the helmet, the whole mission was meaningless, because you can just buy the helmet. And so this is important. Is that one thing is, first of all, stop making exclusive reward DLC later on. That's the first thing. Make the exclusive reward means exclusive reward, and only to that mission. Stay there. That is the first thing. When people know they can only get this reward, this armor and these weapons and these emotes on only that mission, only that mode, people are gonna more and more want to play it. And you make and you, for every season, for example, Christmas or Easter, you give specific reward for specific modes, exclusive rewards. People are gonna want to try different modes, and when people try different mode, their friend gonna come to that mode, and so on and so on and so on. And then you bring the game back to life again. This is the thing how you do it. Like, if people have to do something to get something, they're gonna do it, because they sometimes you have to sometimes some reward should be very hard to get. Some reward should be you have to really play through to get that reward. And with this is that I think nowadays a game, obviously I'm not a good player, I'm not the best, I'm not the worst, but it's not the point. The point is not how good you are. The point is what you put your mind to the game. I think that is something. The more work you have to do, and the end of the when you have finished with like the really complicated thing, you start to really understand how important that reward was for you. So there's nothing about how good the armor is or how good the weapon is. It's about the reward you get for a good mission. But if you just give the reward, just pay for the reward with real money, there's no point with reward anymore. And I think this is something that is a bit problem with DLC, is that DLC takes away the interest with getting something, because you just can just buy it.